Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about how learning guitar can help with depression. So I've had depression, I've been on medication, I'm come off medication. I learned kind of trigger points about how the depression occurs personally for me, and it's always there. So I'm sure there's many of you out there, well there is definitely, who suffer from depression, and it is an illness and many of us have it. But I just wanted to talk about how today guitar has helped me kind of manage the depression in a way that I never thought it would. So the first thing is distraction, right? So for me, when I'm ever been deep in depression, the last thing I want to do is anything. And so at that stage, I don't even think you'd want to pick up a guitar. So this isn't about that real deep depth of darkness. This is about that time where you might just get a little breather, and we all have those. You come up for air just for a second. And if you can come up for air for just a second, and you can do something that isn't thinking about yourself, then it can serve as distraction. And what I found is that when I started learning the guitar, it would help with that. Because you don't have to play the guitar for a long period of time in order to start feeling something from it. You only have to start playing for a few minutes, 5 minutes. It could be 2 minutes, just in a day. And by doing that, you can actually start to distract your brain. This is how I felt. Distract my brain from everything else that I was consuming my mind. And by doing that, it serves as a distraction and can help slowly, over a period of time, bring you out of that darkness. The next one is, it's a healthy habit. So it starts off as this distraction, which is the first point I was raising. And then second, it starts to become a habit. Even if it's once, twice a week, you are starting to slowly, very slowly, bring something else into your head that isn't yourself. So over time, this is what I've found, is that you play more often. So maybe once, twice a week, and then you might start playing more than that, and then eventually it gets to every day. And when you get into that stage, you're actually starting to bring yourself out of that darkness more often. Okay, so it starts to make you feel, I wouldn't say good, because you never feel great when you're in depression, but it starts to almost act as like a medication. Like if you ever had like Prozac, I was on Prozac, many people know this, it just kind of levels you out. So at first it feels like it's leveling you out because you're distracted, but over time, because you're creating this habit, it's a good thing, so it's a healthy habit, but you're also starting to learn something new. So you get these periods of like, oh, I can do this. And that actually makes your feeling of happiness go up, and you start to feel a little bit better. So it's a healthy habit, and it's one that provides that distraction from yourself. The next point is that self-esteem drops to absolute zero when you're going through a depressive state, and it can be very hard to see the light of any kind of day or any kind of happiness when you're within it. But by building this little habit that I was talking about, you are actually creating challenges that you are overcoming. So they're small challenges, they're tiny ones at first, and you don't want to push yourself too far, which is why you should keep your expectations kind of lowish, because then you're always exceeding them and you're making yourself feel better. But also you're starting to understand about yourself that you're capable. And I'm not saying you're going to be a rock god, but what I'm saying is that you can do things. Your self-esteem might be low, but if you can prove to yourself by just playing a part of a song or a riff that you pick up that you can actually learn something, you actually start to place more it creates more self-value, I find, and it feels like you're actually worth something. Whereas often when I was going through a depressive state, I felt I had no value and nothing to offer to the world. So it's a very good part of learning the guitar or any instrument, and it helps to focus your mind in that respect. Next one is that you don't have to leave your house. Now, leaving your house to someone who hasn't had depression feels like, well, why can't you even leave the house? Come on, push yourself, just get out there. What's going on? But when you're going through that dark depressive period, that's the last thing you want to do. I remember when my wife used to say, come on, let's go and meet such and such. My anxiety levels would just go through the roof. I'm like, no, and it'd be flat out no, and I'd just be wallowing in bed, really. So what I would say is that by doing this, you don't have to leave your house, but you're getting that distraction, that healthy step away from you're consuming darkness. So it's an important part of looking at how to kind of step out of all of this, and it will actually make you feel more encouraged to actually leave the house after a period of time doing it, because you've created this distraction and you're starting to build up your self-esteem to the point where you do feel a bit capable of dealing with things in life, because you're overcoming these small challenges through playing the guitar. And then it doesn't seem, the next step up, that might be leaving the house to go to a shop or something and come back, will not seem so daunting. My next one is centered around social ability. So I'm an introvert, and some people are extroverts. So introverts like myself don't need a lot of interaction with other people in order to feel good about ourselves. But obviously when you're going through a depressive period and you're an introvert, it just completely locks you off from any kind of social interaction. So what I would say about learning the guitar is it gives you obviously a hobby as you build it over time, but it actually gives you a talking point that you can really immerse yourself in, and because so many people play the guitar, you can actually end up interacting and having connections with people at some points that you didn't even think you would. My next point is about creating a lifelong hobby. So I'm at very early stages of playing the guitar. I realise that, and I know there's a long way to go, and I've done a separate video on how long it will roughly take to learn the guitar. But when you're going through this journey, if you followed me up till now in terms of these steps that I'm talking about, not really steps, I'm just talking about positive effects on your life, really. If you've done these things and this is starting to happen in your life, then what you're actually doing is creating a long-term hobby. And if you're anything like me, or you recognize the triggers of depression in your life, then you can start to use this as a way of managing that, managing those triggers. So how could I give an example about myself? Well, sometimes a switch just flips, right? So I could be completely fine with my wife and 2 children and feeling good about the day, and something entirely unrelated, and often doesn't even have to be an actual thought about something, it's just almost like a switch has been flicked in my brain, and it just goes from positive and happy to the absolute opposite in less than a second. So I don't even know why that is, but I can recognize how quickly it happens. So that's a trigger for me. I know you can say, well, you're already there, but it's just, I'm not all the way into a depressive state where I'm back and I'm just, on the floor or in bed and I just don't want to see the world. It's just, I instantly recognize that change in myself because of how quickly it happens. So playing guitar, right? I don't have that. I don't get that because I'm too focused on trying to learn the thing and fluff everything up and get it wrong. But at least I'm not thinking about some negative part of of my life that's completely unrelated to what I'm trying to do. The next thing is that it's something personal for you. So for me, over the many years, I've enjoyed watching like sports dramas of or films again where people are the underdogs or it's all against the odds, right? It's typical kind of Hollywood films, but for some reason they hook me and I get into them and I enjoy them. And I don't know, some small part of me thinks that that's who I am, right? So I connect with that and it inspires me. So when you're doing something like this, you're learning the guitar, for example, you start to get some self-esteem, like I was talking about earlier. You're starting to build a habit. You've actually got a hobby. You've got something you can talk to people about. You then have something that's personal to you, okay? So you often think, well, I often thought I didn't have anything to offer, nothing valuable. There was nothing to me. I was empty. I was vacuous. There was not much going on, and there was no point being around. So I'd think like that. And by doing this, by learning guitar, I've got something that's personal to me, and it's part of this whole journey, my guitar journey, and why I hold myself accountable, and why I record myself, and why I'm doing this is just to make sure that I'm going to be around, and I'm going to be around for my family and be with my children, and at the same time I can maybe offer something for others who are out there trying to do the same thing. So the next one is an outlet. It's an outlet of expression. So when you first start, you might not think you can do much, that you can kind of share some of what you're feeling, and you'll be surprised that in most songs, or lots and lots of songs, only have a handful of simple chords to do. So you'll be able to write a song. Well, you can write a song now, but to actually play some guitar along with it, you might need, a week, a day, a couple of days. You could learn a chord, two, 3 chords in a day, and a couple of days later you could have a song. It's really not that difficult. I'm not saying the song's going to be any good. I've written one, and I think I just get humoured by my family. They say, yeah, that's good. Yeah. But obviously, I don't think it's hitting the right note. My last point, I've actually got 5 more, I think, on my blog, on my article, on my website. So I'd urge you to check that out. If you've got depression, or you know someone who's got depression, and you're thinking about giving them a guitar, or talking to them about something that might be worth doing, or you could do with them, you're a loved one perhaps, then check out the rest of my points on my article. It's worth a read. They come from personal experience, so hopefully they can help you in some way, shape or form. But getting back to the point, what I wanted to say is that learning an instrument is actually a proven antidepressant. So there's been articles done where they've put a group of people through musical treatment, i.e. like learning an instrument, and others on a medication to deal with depression, and they found that those who were studying an instrument were better off in the long run over that period of time. So not only is there some personal experience for me that I know it kind of works, it's not going to work for everyone, but there's options, and it's a option. But it's also been shown scientifically that it can work for many others. Okay guys, like I said, there's more points on my article on my blog, so check it out. I put the URL here and you can go and have a look for yourself. But hopefully this has provided some use for those of you who might be thinking about starting to learn, or have got depression, or are interested in the guitar, or know somebody who's going through the same kind of thing. Then hopefully I've provided some kind of value for you. If you have got depression, or you know someone that has and is learning guitar, let me know how they've got on with it and if it's had some positive or negative effect in their life. And I'd really be interested in knowing. Okay guys, until the next one, cheers.